it doesn't matter what sensitivity you use, you are eventually going to be able to control it well. Does sensitivity actually matter? If you go to the comment section in any video, you'll see everyone always asking sensitivity, settings, and they think that if they use that sensitivity and those settings that that pro player is using, they're instantly going to become as good as they are. And I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to become like them just because you use their sensitivity. So let's first look at two schools of thought when it comes to mouse control and sensitivity. The first one is muscle memory, and the second one is mouse control. The first one is that as you play games on a certain sensitivity, your brain gets used to your movements and you gain muscle memory. So when you make those flicks and everything, you make your adjustments, you're able to do those things because you have built up that muscle memory and you're able to make those movements precisely. The second school of thought is mouse control, where you're actually on a feedback loop. You move your hand, you move your mouse, and you see that with your eyes on the screen how much it moves, and you adjust how hard and how far you do things. So I used to be in the first school of thought, but now I'm mostly in the second school of thought. I do think muscle memory still has its place. It's very important in things like your 180 reaction shot, which you're not going to use often, but in a rare case scenario, it's important. And I find that mouse control is the more important one, whereas it doesn't matter what sensitivity you use, you are eventually going to be able to control it well. There are limits to this, of course, and you'll see in my videos I go from using a 0.2 sensitivity on 800 DPI all the way up to a 0.45 sensitivity, which is a very wide range for a game like Valorant. And guess what? With both ends of sensitivity, there's different perks to each one, and I was able to perform at the same level with the low sensitivity and the high sensitivity. So why use each one, and what should you use to begin with? And people get so caught up on matching sensitivity. You know, it's got to be pixel perfect or their aim's going to be crazy off, they're going to suck, and it's just not true. You're going to adapt and you're going to make it work. So if you do keep changing sensitivity, you're still going to be able to play the game perfectly fine. You're still going to adjust and get to peak performance. There are sensitivities that are bad for the game though, so we'll cover those in a bit. In most cases, you don't want to be changing your sensitivity, but in this video, I'm going to dive into cases why you should and when you should change your sensitivity. So if at any point during this video, one of the points that I talk about why you should change your sensitivity is something you need to do, I made a video about how to find the best sensitivity for you, and I'll link it up top and down in the description. Be sure to check it out if you want to find the quote-unquote ideal sensitivity for you. The first good reason to change your sensitivity if it's too high or too low. If this is your first tactical shooter, then you might have chosen a sensitivity where you used it somewhere else, but it's way too high or way too low. This is kind of an arbitrary value of what is way too high or way too low. I would say too low of a DPI would be an EDPI of lower than 130, or a sensitivity where you can't do a 180. Many times, I know when I played back in CSGO times, I wasn't able to do 180s because everyone said, oh, if someone's behind you, well, then you're dead already anyways. But that's not really the case, because if you're playing a character like Jett, there's going to be times where you're going to have to 180 to clear multiple angles. So you want to have the ability to at least 180. That's your minimum. You want to be able to 180. And then the maximum EDPI, I would say, would be 600. And that's already pretty high. And you might say, oh, but I've seen someone play with 900, 1000 EDPI. And cool, maybe they did do good, but that's an outlier. I'm trying to give you a range that 99% of players will fall into. Even highest sensitivity players like Hiko. Hiko's at 576 EDPI. The average EDPI is 280, which is 0.35 at 800, and I play at 0.37 at 800. So if you don't know anything else, if you just want to choose the most likely to be a good sense for you, go with 0.35 at 800. The second reason to change your sensitivity is if you change your grip or your posture. So a lot of people overlook this, but how you grip the mouse and how you sit has a very big impact on how you aim. So for instance, if you palm grip, you're going to be better off using the lower end of sensitivities because you're going to be arm aiming a lot. If you claw grip, that's the perfect for hybrids. So that one has a very wide range. That's the one I use. Has a very wide range of sensitivities that you could perform on very well. And then the last one is fingertip. These will usually use higher sensitivities because you're going to be aiming mostly with your fingers. And this is the way I played when I played on 0.45 at 800 DPI. The other thing is posture. If you rest your arm on your countertop, depending on how high it is, you're going to have more or less resistance when you swipe. So if you have a lot of resistance, you're going to want to play with a higher sensitivity so you don't have to use your whole arm as much and you do more wrist aim. If you have a very low desk and you can move your arm very well, then you could play with a lower sense and rely more on arm aim. Now, the pros and cons of a high or low sensitivity. For a high sensitivity, your aim is going to be snappier. You're able to clear a lot of angles really fast. You're able to do 180s. You're able to do faster and better flick shots. For your low sensitivity, you're going to be more consistent. You're going to have smoother aim. Your flicks are going to be more consistent, and you're going to feel like you're in better control. But that's a rabbit hole. If you keep lowering your sense, you're always going to feel more in control the lower you go. So you have to find a sense where you find that balance between quick, snappy movement and control. And that's where using my guide for finding the perfect sensitivity helps. It's going to help you find that balance for you.